No, I was just mostly coming to check in. I've been moving, so we moved, may have moved a little bit. So yeah, that's where we've been MIA. But
Are you
no,
in the middle of the move right now? You're like on the move?
no, we just finished. I just finished the move, but I had to come in, check in, and pretty much give my MVP pick. I had to,
Oh.
shout out Jokic
Oh, there it is,
for that
chat.
30, 20,
There
and
it
20.
is.
I'm telling you, man, I get it. 50 wins before anyone in the West gets 40 is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yep.
But Jokic is doing it all by himself.
Yep.
Like Jamal Murray's barely playing great. Like I'm telling you, I don't know. We'll see how tonight's game goes, but I don't see how anyone could pick SGA for the MVP.
We were just talking about that earlier, and I was saying that this game might be a bit of a shift, and it is that Jokic is also playing, you could argue better right now as well too, but it is also probably that playoff impact element of it where, you still just feel more confident in Jokic as a top dog, right, over Shea. Where
Yeah.
there honestly was a moment there, I think, in the regular season where not that you would take Shea over Jokic, but it was like for this season, at least Shea is playing on that level, and Shea is still playing great, but Jokic is just like back to ascending kind of on that level at himself. And I mean, the 30-20-20 game is a perfect example. Literally the first in NBA history. Not even, like Wilt Chamberlain and any of those other greats were able to do that. That's crazy.
No, people were saying, is it like the triple double double or something like that?
The triple double double? Ooh, that's
It's
not an in and
crazy.
out item.
And I think it might be. I
I
think
think
it might
Sam's
be.
on his way to get a triple double double right now.
Who knows?
Animal
Who
style.
knows? Might pull up right now. But I thought that was insane with those cool special edition jerseys. It was
Yeah.
real special moment. He was looking clean in there, but yeah, I don't know. The Cavs, I've always liked DeAndre Hunter, but I didn't think he would be like, kind of the last piece for a title team. But I don't
Mmm.
know. This
Yeah.
Cavs team is looking really good with him, and I don't know that the series against the Celtics. I'm worried for my boy Tatum.
Yeah, Hunter has got the size to just be able to throw at the wings. And his 3 point, I didn't realize he was as a 3 point shooter as he was. Like, he gets the 3 and D label, of course, but
Yeah,
I mean, with the way, and he is, I think if you look at the numbers too, just having maybe a bit of a higher upside shooting season, maybe than this is like his career. But regardless, like, he is a 3 point shooter type guy. Like, he could fit in that mold with Strus and with Sam Morril, as you can kind of run him around these screens a little bit and do some of the floor spacing stuff with him that maybe I didn't, it's just a different game than you think is typical 3 and D guy like Dorian Finney-Smith, like standing over there just providing floor spacing but not really giving you extra offensive movement and extra motion to get the defense off. So I mean, you're right. The missing piece to a title team, like, yes, I think we could have thought that, like, his type of player, I guess, is not necessarily him being surprising on a title team. But you're right, like him actually being the piece that puts him over the top. And it's not that they weren't close without him, anyways. But you're right, like him having him in there, and then the play around him as well in general, since that trade deadline, they kind of have to be the number one team. Now, I mean, Boston was back, though, again last night. Like, Tatum is leveled up his game.
yeah.
And he's having 40-point games, and the playmaking is there with Tatum. Like, I think they're equal right now. I still can't quite say that they're better than Boston, but I at least say that they're equal. Because
Yeah,
I
no,
think,
I
do
think.
we?
I mean, you gotta.
No, go ahead. It's okay.
I mean, I mean, that's what I say. You gotta look at it like the playoffs, and we can't just crown the Cavs already.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's looking real tough, and the Cavs have had some. Or I mean, the Celtics have looked a little slumping this year. Definitely not as you know top level team as last year. Last year's kind of like the best version of this team. We're kind of looking at like more like 2018 Warriors instead of 2017 greatness. Um, Not at the same level offensively, of course, but yeah, I don't know. It's the Cavs they look young, they look hungry. I feel bad for Jared Allen, but having him out of there and still having size, and who knows, Ty
No,
Jerome
yeah, yeah, yeah.
is just a inspiration. They still have a core on this team. They're really deep, so I'm really interested in them, and I don't know. I mean, I guess they haven't had as much of a run lately, but the Pistons, man. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Are they legit? I don't. They themselves have also started to come on this year 7-3 in the last 10 games. I mean, are you a believer in Cade Cunningham? Like, can they win a series?
Ooh, can they win a series? I mean, I think when you said are they legit, it's like it depends on what your definition of legit is because, like we were saying a little bit earlier as well too, it's they have solidified themselves where before it's are they going to be something. Now the Pistons are definitely something, and that is Cade. And as much as we're focused on the face of the league stuff, and I don't know if Cade is necessarily going to be a face of the league type guy. Like there still is a greater basketball conversation as to which of these young guys is going to emerge as a lead guy. And we thought it was going to be Paolo at the beginning of last season as kind of, or the beginning of this season as who of these recent young guys, and Edwards as well too, of like who's going to emerge. But you're right, Cade is the one that's like now at the end of the season down the stretch with the team around him of solid veterans finally and some actual rotational players in there. He is the one that is proving that he is elevating the ceiling of the team. And yeah, the Magic don't have Brunson as well too, so that's a bit of a ding for Paolo. And Wemby's just completely out with injury, so there's nothing you can really do about that. But Cade is the guy, and I guess I had Tatum's numbers pulled up here, but yeah,
Oh, it's comparing.
for uh for Cade anyways, I was always thinking that maybe he could be a sneaky, could the Spurs be looking at him as like an unhappy guy? And I guess there's always a potential that a guy could just request a trade. But he's now like, yeah, fully moved into that. There's no way that the Pistons would even think about resetting the franchise in any way if he's there. I mean, I guess unless Nico Harrison shows up to run the Detroit
Yeah,
Pistons
exactly.
at some point. But like where would you take Cade at right now for Eastern Conference guy in a playoff series? Because it is a lot of those younger guys
Mm.
outside of Tatum and Giannis and Mitchell. And you got so those top four teams, Brunson is pretty solidified, but the rest of those teams down there, like Butler and the Miami Heat were the one team that were always in the mix at the bottom of the
Yeah,
East. Like they were
exactly.
always underachieving in the
Yeah.
regular season. So now it's
Now
Bam.
he's in the East, obviously.
Now
I
it's
don't know. There's still Paolo.
yeah,
I mean,
Paolo,
I'd still,
Halliburton.
Paolo. You still got Tyrese Halliburton.
Halliburton's
Like,
been awesome as well
would
too
you
lately.
rather have Halliburton or Cade? I mean, I'd still have Cade over him, but
Yeah, Halliburton's shooting numbers have been insane. He's been like a 50, 40, 90 guy lately. And
yeah.
the Pacers have definitely been playing well. But I don't know, just Cade.
Oh, they've had a couple losses. They haven't. I mean, they just lost last night.
Yeah, I guess.
It's
But
been a little up and down.
true, true, true. But you're right. Cade has been playing awesome. And that's, and we got to give Bickerstaff his credit. Like maybe he's not able to take these teams into that next phase. Where like where you bring in the Steve Kerr for Mark Jackson level up. But or
Yeah.
for the Kenny Atkinson from JB Bickerstaff level. But Bickerstaff has proven that he did it with the Cavs. He got that team to be a nice, solid team, and he's gotten this Pistons team to be a nice, solid team.
No, yeah. Bickerstaff is legit, and I guess the real reason I was fired up, I was having a conversation today with someone at my church, and every once in a while I just get my blood pressure up, and this guy was talking about. We were talking about Cooper Flag,
Oh.
and he was claiming his take, which I gotta get on the pod to get this on tape for him to say, was that Peyton Pritchard is gonna have a better NBA career than Cooper Flag. He
Who?
thinks like Peyton Pritchard. He has him down there with
Oh!
Gordon. He say Gordon Hayward, Kirilenko. You know,
Kirilenko?
I was like, get that out of here. I was like, that's so disrespectful. I don't know. I was out. So
But
I was guess this is coming to you. What do you think? Project right now. Like, what do you have for Cooper Flag after the end of the regular season?
well, haven't you? It does feel like the conversation around Flag has shifted a little bit, not in a bad way, but it was at one point that generational label of is he gonna be like Wemby? Is he gonna be the franchise guy? Now it almost
Yeah.
seems like is he getting a Chet comparison? Where is he a guy that you can bring in? It's like maybe he could be a franchise guy, but we know that we're gonna get like a solid. We're gonna get one of those solid. Again, like is Klay Thompson a franchise guy? Like, what's the proper label for him? But we're gonna get like a solid All NBA guy who could be the second best guy on a title team potentially. Like, it does feel like narrative around Cooper Flag has shifted. And again, like you look at the other guys in the class, the fact that we can have that certainty around Cooper Flag at this point in him as a prospect would lead him to be a safer pick than some of these. It's like with Wemby. You know, if Wemby doesn't end up being the prodigy face of the league, you're still going to get the best defensive player in the league and this
Yeah.
awesome offensive weapon and a guy who can still, again, be probably the second best or third best guy at worst. What scenario is Wemby the third best guy on a title team? You know, he can still probably be the second best guy on a title team. Like, do you think Cooper Flag, you put him into any franchise and he just elevates that? Because that was the conversation with Wemby. And yes, he gets to go to San Antonio and it's a good landing spot for him. But
Yeah.
it was going to be wherever he goes, he is expected to be that transcendent player. Like, do you see that with Cooper Flag? Because there's some like run it back stuff with him as well too that's been joked about.
I'm like, get that running back stuff out of here.
Yeah,
Get
no.
him to the league. I mean, I think yes, he's gonna make any team that he goes to better. You look at his size, you look at his handling, you look at like just his defensive presence, and I've been watching him throughout the year, and the competitive nature is real.
You've been
It
watching him
is
more than me,
really
yeah.
real. When there are moments, yeah, I mean, when there are moments that are close. When he can kind of sense the game is slipping away, he takes the ball. He really owns possession of the ball and takes it on his wing. And his team is really talented, mind you. It's not saying it's all him, but it is really good to see him kind of like play in his system, still play really well, like kind of like Paolo, but he does have better ball handling, better like bring up the ball up the court, you know, type type play. So I just I just think that it's to have him as low as Peyton Pritchard or
That's why the
say that
Kirilenko
he
thing is
won't
tough.
compete or whatever.
Because as a ball handler,
Yeah,
you feel
I'm
like,
like,
he could create a little more than
there's
Kirilenko,
no
probably.
way, there's no way. And it's one of those things where it's like this guy's a lab rat. He loves to
Mm-hmm.
compete. Like he's not in it for the money. He's not in it. Of course, he loves the money. Obviously, like I don't take the money, but he's not. He's like he's a competitor. He really wants to win, and have that combined with all the talent. Like it's. I very much see the it factor with him, and I don't know. It's I don't know. It's definitely top, and I think one great comparison to this would be like Trevor Lawrence. And when you look at Trevor Lawrence,
Ooh.
you know, another I guess white guy, you see like all the talent and the wins and accolades, but did he really have that like grind? Does he really have that intensity when you watch him play? Does he really have that want it? And you even see him in his hype up huddles, like he's all right, like he's kind of chilling out there, and he's kind of made it through college and all the way to the league on just his talent alone, on having good teammates, on being like the number one in all these situations. And then he gets to the league, he actually faces adversity and it falls apart. Cooper Flag played for frickin' Maine, like this guy had nothing there. Like he had to go out there and get it. Like this Duke team is easily compared to other teams, the most talented by far team he's ever been on. And within that system, you
Yeah.
can see him passing, you can see him taking the roles. He's still leading the team in almost every major category. Um, and that's not even hyperbole. Like you go on ESPN, you see every category. He's leading this talented team. There's going to be multiple all stars on this team, but I think that there is maybe not multiple all stars, but there's definitely going to be like really high contributing NBA players on
You're
this
giving
team.
Tyrese Proctor 3 All-Stars in his NBA
I,
career?
I like Proctor.
I like
I've been
Proctor
watching.
too.
I'm watching him. I'm watching him. Knuckle.
Oh,
Knuckle.
Knuble's
That
an
that
All-Star.
you know. But so
Third team
I'm
All
seeing
NBA
him
for
with the
Knuble. They're good.
talent,
If they
and
put in a
it's
fourth
just
team All NBA at some point, maybe Knuble gets on that.
I'm just saying, Cooper has that intensity, and you just see it. You see it in his parents too. Like they're like yelling on his head, like his mom's screaming in the stands. I'm telling you, you have that all day. That want to, and there's no way you're not gonna be successful in the league. And I'm telling you right now, I'll tell it on the pod. I told my friend who was saying he won't be better than Peyton Pritchard. Cooper Flag will be a Hall of Famer. Book
Lock it
it,
in.
Cooper Flag. He will be a Hall of Famer.
Is that even a hot take though these days
No, that's not a hot
in
take. It should
NBA?
be obvious, and I thought it was, but I guess it wasn't. Talking to people on the street, so I gotta say the quiet part out loud.
Yeah, okay. So you're saying Cooper Flag's gonna average like 18 points a game? That's cool. What's the
Jeez,
baseline to get in the Hall of Fame?
I know, might as well. I don't know, but
No, Lawrence
yeah,
is an interesting comp. When you said Lawrence, I was thinking like it almost feels like he's at Justin Herbert level right now, where Justin Herbert is like easily. If you're telling me that any quarterback you take, if you're telling me that Cam Ward this year is Justin Herbert, then it's like absolutely we're taking that guy number one. But is Justin Herbert, has he proven yet that he can be that difference maker in the way that Mahomes can be at the end of games? Like, I guess I'm excited to lock into Duke at the end of in this tournament here at the end of the season. How are they running the? I guess he's the lead guy at the end of games in terms of getting shots and stuff too.
yeah, and it's not even so much comparing him to Trevor Lawrence, but Trevor Lawrence is a great example of having that talent, but not that it factor.
Yeah,
Having that little bit to go above. And with Herbert, like he played well in college, but it wasn't like leading a team like all time great. Like Duke is the number 2 team in the
that's
nation.
true.
And there's a lot of talented players on this team. They may have had a little bit of a cupcake schedule, but I'm telling you, this team, like, they're down on the road against UNC. They're like down by 10, down by a couple to run. The crowd's getting crazy. And they just squeeze the life out of that arena. Just being clinical, going down the play after play. Cooper, he's at the top of the key, running the offense, getting the pass to the right guys. And then he puts the exclamation point on the end by himself. So it was a game where he has like 3 fouls. Things are falling apart, and he found a way to get through in a rivalry game. Like those moments really matter. And I'm not saying he's going to come into the league averaging 30 and 10, but you see that competitive nature. You see the foundation of a really great player. I'm not saying all time great, top 10 or something, but I could see him be like a number one on a really good, close to title team. If I had to do a comparison, I don't know like where I'd put it. I don't know if I think culturally he could change the game. But actually on the court, maybe it's like I don't even know, more like an Anthony Edwards like type of athleticism. Like he's super athletic, but like Anthony Edwards, like you're like, okay, this guy's not like we're not talking about like a top 10 all time guy, but a young star, and you're excited to see where he'll end up in the league.
So, were you watching the? What time was that game on last night? Were you watching that game instead of the Lakers Celtics game?
No, no, I wasn't watching either game.
Oh,
But I did see the highlights this morning.
oh, I didn't know if you were prioritizing Cooper Flag over the NBA already. But I mean,
No, no, I'm not. No, I haven't
because
watched. I haven't watched many live, but I was watching like the highlights, some of the condensed game, on YouTube and all that.
I remember seeing that game in passing. I just forget what game it was on because I was focused for that Lakers Celtics game last
Yeah,
night. But you can't evaluate those games either. Like looking at Duke down 10 and like that is like a Michigan Ohio State game where if they're down 10 versus UNC, even though UNC's unranked and like not having the same type of season this year, and Duke's the number 2 team, it can't be like a where they were playing this type of way to be down 10 or down whatever. Like it's
yeah,
UNC in Chapel Hill, like them making the comeback and making the effort
exactly.
versus that team. It is what is the important team. And I was watching some of that Auburn Alabama game as well too yesterday. That was exciting. And Auburn is ranked number 1 right now, at least
Yeah,
in that game. I think Alabama ended up winning that game in overtime. But both of those teams look pretty high level. I don't know if Auburn looked like a number 1 team, but the college basketball landscape is probably a little bit more even as well too right now than it is in the past, where maybe you have a dominant team of
yeah.
freshmen the
And they
way
do the
it is in
whole
that cycle.
Ken Palm thing. Like it's more statistical. Like did you lose against quadrant one, quadrant two
Yeah,
wins?
true.
They're a lot more like BCS era now.
But is Cooper Flag? So you're saying Cooper Flag's a lot better than Danny Wolf from Michigan?
Yeah, he's easily the number 1 player in the college basketball.
Yeah.
It's not even close. It's not even close. And
The
I,
Kirilenko
I,
comp is funny though. We do need to get that guy on.
yeah, I know. How are you gonna? And he's a Bengals fan too, so he's
Oh, he's a
he's
Bengals
fighting
fan.
right now, fighting for his life right now. With the T
Is he
Higgins
a Cavs
and
fan?
Jamar Chase. No, no, I don't think so.
Oh,
I don't think so. Yeah, no, I don't think he has a basketball team.
would be a
But
good year to be a Cavs fan for the Cleveland teams.
yeah, no.
the Cincinnati teams.
But I guess speaking of generational stars, where do you have the Lakers now that they have Luca? You know, number two in the league. They do have the tough loss against the Celtics yesterday, but you know they're still on this hot streak. You know, I think wasn't LeBron hurt? Yeah, he was hurt. So you know, I mean, and he it seems like he'll be out for a little bit, but I don't know. I mean, with Luca and LeBron both going, like, is there really a team that has a higher ceiling?
Do we have to? Are we? Do we have to rank like the Western Conference teams? Because we sometimes get in this thing where we start ranking these teams like bigger picture against each other, but it does feel like this is almost going to be matchup based. Like watching this OKC Denver game, these teams, it's a
Yeah.
1 point game here, you know, entering the end of the game. And it feels like these teams are every bit as good as each other. But from a matchup standpoint, you know, the LeBron and Luca healthy, Hachimura healthy as well too. The size that the Lakers have, when it's not like they're a deep team with the size. Pause, but when they do have all the guys healthy in the lineup, they could provide a problem
Yeah.
for OKC. And they had Davis, who was a big problem, and Hartenstein was able to at least be somewhat of a presence there for that. But even with OKC bouncing Denver in this way, because like you're saying with Jokic, like with the way Jokic is playing right now, it's hard not to
Yeah.
fear him in a Mahomes like way. And it's funny because he
Exactly.
still hasn't even really done the Mahomes thing in the playoffs yet. Yes, in the regular season he has, but not. Mahomes has won three or four titles. Like Jokic just
Yeah.
won one ring at this point, but I still give him that benefit of the doubt as the legendary player. So OKC might even win this game, and that would definitely be actually a pretty good solidifying factor for them heading into the playoffs. A good confidence metric for him. But okay, it's just hard for any pause. It's difficult for me to see anybody getting past Jokic with the way he's playing. But I think they're every bit as capable of getting a win over Denver and over OKC at this point right now, if all those guys are healthy. Which is funny
Yeah.
because do you think that they're like with LeBron playing this level? Do you think it's a low? Is it the LeBron and Luca combination, or is it LeBron playing at this level? Because if LeBron is playing this way with Davis, do you feel as confident with this team a peak Davis and a peak LeBron like this versus
Mm.
these Western Conference teams?
No, I'm not because Luca, you know, is a ball handler, so you can have LeBron on the bench with
It's
Luca
crazy. So
out
they're going to
there.
win the trade
And
this year.
exactly. They are. They are going to win as long as LeBron is back healthy. And I was starting to think like, you know, we've done all the stuff. Like people are pretty set on the Jordan versus LeBron. But what I guess this is leading to, you know, our first take, you know, clip this for TikTok. What would it mean? It's starting to make me think like there's a realistic chance that LeBron could win another ring.
Yeah.
And what would that mean for like LeBron's legacy? Like I know this is a first take question, but like I feel like him having five now it's like it feels in my head like easier
Yeah.
as a hill, you know, versus Jordan. And you know, there's that Kareem argument. You know, getting a ring at this age. You know, he got one really late in his career that kind of took him to that second epsilon. And for LeBron to also do that in a Lakers jersey, you know, Luca actually opens the door for that to happen. And you look at OKC, yeah, they got all these regular season wins, but I mean, it is SGA. Like, if we really have the team lock and focus, like
Their
SGA
1-2 is
maybe
just
is
not as good.
indicated.
SGA and Jaden Williams as a 1-2 is just not as good as Luca and LeBron.
It's just not as good. It's just not as
It's
good.
just not.
And Jokic, like at some point, Christian Braun being your starting shooting guard is gonna be a weakness. Like Russell Westbrook playing serious minutes at
It's
some point
true.
is gonna show up. Like you're gonna be out there with three non-shooters and Russell Westbrook, Aaron Gordon, and Braun, and that is something that's not feasible. And so to have pieces on your team like Jared Vanderbilt, you know, who's legit, like he's really starting to show like his intensity. You know, you have a really competitive and smart coach like JJ Redick, you know, and Gabe Vincent's still on this team. Like he's still a shooter. So I don't know. It just in my head, the Lakers make a lot more sense. They're starting to go on a run, which you need as a title team to go on a run. And it's just I don't know. I mean, I guess end it off with yeah, what would it mean for you to LeBron's legacy for him to end up to get one more ring?
Well, there's so much to this conversation because it's. I don't even know if I mean, the ring is obviously so important, but watching what he's doing with Luka is interesting to the MJ debate because could MJ have done this at some point and fit in the way LeBron is fitting in? Like, LeBron
Yeah.
was always able to end up being the best player on the team because he's LeBron James. Like, it doesn't matter. Anthony Davis is the sidekick. Dwayne Wade's the sidekick. LeBron's just the best player. But you think even back to like those 2011 the 2011 team when he first got to Miami and Wade is still at the peak of his powers and still playing like one of the best players in the league, he was still okay with letting Wade be that. And Wade, I know Wade, Russillo always makes the jokes about Wade having to give the reins over to LeBron and let LeBron take over the team. But there is a nugget of truth into that where LeBron is okay with letting the great players be great around him. And not that MJ couldn't have done that. And it goes to the roster that he played with. With all due respect to Scottie Pippen, he's a different type of number two as well compared to a guy like Wade and Davis who. And Pippen had moments where we thought that he could be a number one. It just we never got to see it for the length of time that we did for some of the LeBron sidekicks. But watching him fit in next to another superstar and say, I can let the superstar of Luka Doncic do his thing and still be an all-time great player next to him and still have the moments of taking over the team is just a different dynamic and a different thing where it's not necessarily an accolade that you could put on his career as of like a in an MJ argument, but it is like an on the court thing of if you have to build a team around either of those guys. LeBron is kind of proving that is it going to be easier to build a team around him than MJ? And again, MJ is a scorer. Like you just have the best bucket getter of all time in your lineup. That just makes it easier for everybody else as well too. Like, we can't speak necessarily for having watched MJ played, but his exposing his versatility in that way because Magic always gets the legacy for, and I guess it not always. It can be debated versus who's the better player all time versus him and Kareem, but it can be debated. And Magic had moments where playing with Kareem is at the all-time status right now. It's Kareem's team, but as Magic grows and becomes the player, also Magic can be the guy. And LeBron has always had
Yeah.
that tinge of Magic in his game, but it's really exaggerated at this point. And again, like he needs Luka to be the number one in a way that he never did in his career before. But the fact that he can put up these numbers as a number two, like if he wins the title as a number two, there's always that conversation of like what happens when a guy gets a ring later in his career. Does it mean as much if he is as important to the team? Like if his role is reduced? But the way LeBron is playing right now, like the ring would mean just as much as it did in his career because his impact to the roster is still the exact same, even if he doesn't have to necessarily run the offense in the same way. And I think that this honestly is, I guess it's not better for his legacy than if he was the number one guy on a title team, but that differentiating factor is, I think, a different, feather in his cap to the argument.
Yeah, and it especially comes at a great time because um, he has the 50,000 points, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
and so that combined with another ring, like, I mean, at some point you're just a hater if you can't accept like that he is the best player of all time, the best NBA player of all time, um, just because of and just doing stuff no one's ever done before, and the
Like
longevity, of course,
I
is
have
something
to
we've always
absolutely
talked
make it
about,
a
but
mission this summer to go watch MJ because I need to, like LeBron is like you're saying, I need to decide whether or not I'm a hater, whether or not people
yeah,
are being a hater. Like I need to see as many MJ games as possible because there's just no way with LeBron's resume that he's not the greatest player of all time.
like 50,000 points. Like I feel like that was almost swept under the rug when it happened. Like that's
It
insane.
was.
You're 10,000 points more. Like how close is Kareem? Like what was Kareem number two? Like I don't. It's insane. It's insane. So I just I just think the possibility is there. Like I never thought it would be before, and no one else in the league did either, except for Nico Harris, I guess. But having Luca there, I think this is they have to take it. I think you look at the West and the East, the top teams, like it's really a muddled West and East. Like
Mm-hmm.
the Cavs are technically the best team, but the Celtics are still there, but they're not at their 100%. And over in the East, like the Nuggets are good, but or OKC's number one, but do we really believe in SGA when you're focused on him in the playoffs? And the refs stop giving him 101 free throws. You know, And you look at like and then you look at the Nuggets as well. Like at some point you're gonna just have to 1v1 Jokic and let him pass to who knows who, and they actually have people to defend out there. So I think there's serious questions about every team now in the league, and so why not the Lakers? I think is the better question than why the
Mm-hmm.
Lakers right now.
And especially if we're in this status where if we're in this stage where it still feels like these older superstars or these peak superstars are still going to be the ones that run the league. Like we're still at the spot where okay, yeah, the SGA is the young team and the new team that's emerged. Cleveland has their time in the light, but Boston's an established team. Yeah, they just won their first title, but they're an established playoff team. I mean, there's nobody more established in the league right now than Steph and LeBron, and then yeah, of course, Jokic is established as well too. And yeah, to go to the total points thing, LeBron is at 50,086 points right now, and Kareem is at 44,149. So he's 6,000 above Kareem right now, and
Wow.
could definitely easily retire 10K above Kareem, which is nuts. But if it's gonna be, because like we're saying, like as much as they're running the offense through Luka, I think LeBron's impact is definitely going to be felt in this injury. And is this injury going to be a good thing for him in a weird way, where he's just playing so well and exerting so much down the end of the season that now he
Yeah.
gets like a built-in 2 week break? Where I don't know how serious it is and if it's going to be a lingering thing
Exactly.
potentially in the playoffs, but maybe there's now a little bit of a
Yeah.
reset as well too, where he can be fresh. And to be honest, he's got to be motivated by having
Yeah.
Bronny on
No,
his
he can
team,
come
right?
back in time for the playoffs. Yeah, I mean, and he can come just in time back for the playoffs. He's had a
Oh,
groin injury before. It's not the first time. But yeah, I
true.
mean, like you mentioned, this kind of gives him a rest, kind of gets him to recharge for the playoffs. And yeah, I mean, if they get like a pretty, a beaten up team that had to fight through the plan to get in, I mean, I'm pretty sure Luca and Co can handle maybe part of the first round. Right now, they would be playing.
Oh yeah.
Let me
What
pull
would
up
be
the
that next
standings
one?
here.
Let me see if we can look it up.
Um,
I guess it would determine as well too, like some play and stuff, because they would be
Yeah,
just
I mean, it would be like the
2 seed.
Timberwolves, I guess. Oh no, the three seed. They're the three, so it'd be the
Oh
Warriors.
yeah.
I guess it would be the Warriors. Yeah. So, and then that's almost the question: is if you want to stay at the
Wow,
three,
Steph
so you
LeBron in the
play the
first
Warriors.
round.
That'd be crazy. That'd be crazy. But we'll see. They keep going back and forth, so there's a chance they could be playing the Mavs. They could have a series against the Mavs. They could have a series against the Clippers. LA versus LA. Like there is a lot of change in terms of who they play, but Um, I'm pretty confident Luca and Co can hold their own in the first round, and so we'll see. I mean, Luca and Co went to the finals, and yeah, they had Kyrie and PJ Washington, but this team has similar talent. Beside with Austin Reeves,
Yeah.
Rui Hachimura, like they have similar talent, so I think they'll be just fine
And
without LeBron for a bit.
the conversation around bringing in Luca in a trade is you get to reset the timeline and have this. You get to reopen your window for like a decade of having this star contending player. But let's be honest, if LeBron is playing this level, there's probably going to never ever be a teammate that's better suited for winning a title next to Luka Doncic than LeBron putting up peak LeBron numbers. So the
Yeah,
fact that like immediately the trade is not only a long term trade, but it's like a just like a worse immediate basketball trade. And like you're saying, they could also play the Mavs in the first round of the series, in the first round of the playoffs, eliminate the Mavs, and
yeah.
then start their path to winning a title with Luka Doncic mid trade, trading for him in the middle of the season. Like, what kind of crazy storyline would Nico Harrison could have not predicted there?
Insane.
But
Insane. And even if they do
they're
bring him
talking him
back,
into
they
it.
could have him on limited minutes, and have Luca have most of the minutes. Like it just gives them so many options. And Reddick is, with the, high-minded coach he is, open to new things, definitely brainstorm for something new.
Can he get
You know,
stem cells from Bronny to help with the recovery? How does that
who
work?
knows? Who knows? Different kind of teammate. That's some real
Is that a
real
benefit?
baller